Hello, everybody. Welcome to PinTech Live. Kyle's back.
I am.
You can see the whole empty studio. You need to set up those backdrops. I'm going to bring them to you soon. I'm zooming you in. I'm sorry. I had to. You look so tiny in there, in our giant studio. We're here working on Baywatch. I like the lighting in the background, though. It's very pink.
Yeah, right behind Viking.
Hard body-ish.
It is. What's up, everybody? Hi, Eddie. What's up, dude? Welcome. I'm sorry I missed all of y'all last week, and I was this close to not streaming again today.
Eddie!
But I still feel like crap. I haven't done anything for a week. Actually, let's rewind. I don't know what Moto said. I finally
Sorry, I just turned off the music. I couldn't help myself. I keep doing that. It's
so
just
good,
so
huh?
good.
I finally caught COVID, so I was out and having COVID-related problems. Unfortunately, I still definitely am being affected by some side effects. I had to come in here and move a bunch of games around, and just the teeniest bit of exertion made me feel like I was going to die. So this stream is probably going to be pretty short today, but I didn't want to cancel. Actually, I did want to cancel, and then I changed my mind. So
He did.
it's my dedication.
I was trying to get him to go lay in bed and recover, but he was like, the show must go on. I was like, okay.
I guess I'm pretty
PJ,
bipolar
let's
about
do
that
it.
sometimes.
Let's go.
But we got to do it. I wanted to let's because we
Hello,
will be,
Digirati. Oh,
Hello.
can I cut you off real quick and tell you something cool?
yeah.
So as you know, I'm doing a Kickstarter campaign for a short film for our feature, Skill Shop Baby, and we were doing auditions for the role of one of the characters, and Digirati actually auditioned for us, and he was amazing. It was awesome.
That's
And
so
I get to talk to
cool.
him later today too for a callback. So, yay!
Fantastic! How exciting!
It was so much fun meeting him. Super cool.
Congratulations
Super awesome.
to you and James for also meeting your Kickstarter so quickly. It's well deserved.
Oh yeah,
It's super
Thank
cool.
you. Thank you, pinball community. That was all y'all. So
Right?
we will work really hard to make it as good as we possibly can.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. Yeah.
Okay, so back to Baywatch. Sorry,
yeah,
I saw
yeah.
Digirati in the chat and I had to say something.
Not trying to rush it along too much, but let's get to work a little bit, so that way maybe we can wind down, chit chat for just a minute before I get to go home and go relax. So this might be only a 1 hour stream today, so I'm sorry, but I hope most of you will understand. Yeah, so all of the electronics in this game are seemingly super solid, right? Everything works. The computer is gorgeous. The soundboard works. Everything does its job. The last little issue we have is with one string of the general illumination lights on the back box. So let's poke in here really quick. We did a bit of an anatomy of a Data East
Ugh,
Sega
went too far.
electronics set. I guess this is like the ultimate version of Data East's board set. This was the last set of electronics before Data East, Sega at the time, transitioned over to their White Star system. The White Star system ran for a long time. I wonder actually if that is the longest running pinball system year-wise. Not necessarily the most games made, but anyways, I think it was around 96, 97 when the White Star board set came around, and that lasted all the way until, I mean, shucks, was Avatar a White Star game, or was that a Sam game? Can you look? Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm looking.
This is the last board set. You still have the original Williams knockoff computer, Data East's version of this computer. It underwent a few changes, but this is the final version. We have our power
Avatar
supply. We have the small power supply because we have the big DMD.
Okay, Carrie.
We have the BSMT 2000 sound system here, soundboard here, which is again the ultimate version, the last iteration of Data East Sega's soundboards. And then we have this, the PPB board, the Playfield Power Board. This game is from like 1995. Williams had moved on to a totally different system, but since this system is almost a clone of the System 11 setup, the later System 11 games had an auxiliary power driver, which would handle. It's basically another power supply, and it also had a couple extra drivers. And it kind of functions very similar to how Sega engineered this. Basically, this is a fuse board with a couple extra fun bits going on. The PPB board, that's how Data East and Sega abbreviated it, PPB, Playfield Power Board. It really doesn't have a lot of active components here. It doesn't do any thinking. It has no logic level componentry here. So the long and short of it is we have the AC select relay here. This is important. The AC select relays were used to multiplex solenoid signals. So what that means is they used, this game has what, 16? I think it has 16 solenoid drives on the computer. But those 16 solenoid drives can be used to it can drive 32 solenoids, if that makes sense. How they do that is through a relay. When the relay is in one position, let's say in the resting position, it can fire the pop bumper. In the other selected, when the relay fires and it switches a set of switch contacts, that driver that would normally drive the pop bumper now will drive a flash lamp. The reason they did that was just to keep, again, the driver count low, reduced the bill of material for the actual electronics, but also they were able to do this by, pay attention to this, like when you're playing a late 80s Williams game or a Data East Sega game of this era, the flashers really don't go unless the ball is in a saucer or something like that. When the ball is in a saucer and it's paused, the game will then reward you and tell you did a great job by making a really cool light show. And it's because this relay will switch back and forth. I hope that makes sense. I might have overcomplicated it by trying to explain it at a level. Sorry, my brain is not working. That's one thing that is the worst part about this COVID thing, is I feel like I'm dumber, which sucks. My brain isn't working. Anyways.
Kind of confusing, but no, I think everyone's following along. Carrie Hardy said the way you say solenoid is different. Wait, how do you say it?
Solenoid?
How are you supposed to say it? I say it the way you say it, because I learned from you.
Solenoid?
Solenoid. How do you say it, Carrie? You say solenoid. I say solenoid. What?
He says solenoid. Carrie's got a great accent.
Oh, Texas accent. I see.
So
Kyle's got a California, Carolina accent now.
The California accent I always thought was kind of a lack of an accent.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents, who I spent a lot of time with when I was a kid, they
solenoid.
They had German was their primary and first language, but they learned most of their English from Midwesterners and where they lived in Colorado. So I feel like I picked up on a lot of their speech habits, like that right there, The Germans use a similar spacing of words where they'll say a word genau a lot, which means exactly. And it can it doesn't necessarily have to mean exactly, but it's just a filler, Anyways, another thing that this board handles, you've got these big TIP 36 transistors here. These transistors are really strong. They're way more muscular and tough than these little TIP 102s on the computer. But what this system does is these boards can have up to 5, and generally these will run heavy-duty solenoids or 50-volt solenoids, high-powered solenoids. And that is what this bridge rectifier is here for. This rectifies and creates the 50-volt power circuit. But these guys are used to drive super strong coils, so like up kickers and stuff like that. Like, for example, on Jurassic Park, the kick out for the raptor pit is driven off of one of these super tough guys. So these are used to drive heavy solenoids. So you've got 3 levels of drive. You have this small 2N4401 or whatever will drive the bigger transistor here, which then drives this transistor, and it spreads the load for those really heavy, current draw applications. These resistors here are for the flash lamps. So when this AC select relay will change to the flash side, these are here to soak up a lot of the juice that goes to run the flash lamps. You're probably all really confused and wondering why we're even talking about this. Well, the general illumination also runs through this board. We've got on the power supply up here, and let's open up the schematic in just a second, Emoto. I'm gonna show one more thing, and then we'll throw it into the schematic really quick. We've got our power supply here. Again, this power supply takes AC voltages from the transformer, rectifies and regulates voltages, and then sends them out to be used. Right here, this is our 6.3 volts coming from the transformer. These are generally found up quite burnt from the heavy current load from the incandescent bulbs. So we've got our input of our 6.3 volts AC here. And then we've got an output. It splits it up. It goes through this relay. This is our relay that flashes on and off for our lamp effects. And then it outputs both sides of the AC onto this connector here, which is we repinned last time we did this show. And then it spits it out into the PPB board. Can you open up the schematic, Emoto?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's really simple. When it goes through the PPB board, one end, actually, sorry, can you go back to the camera? My bad.
Oops, wrong one.
If you notice this plug, it's a little bizarre. Let's look at the wire colors here, starting left to right. White, brown, white, yellow, white, green, white, purple, and then white, brown, white, yellow, white, green, and white, purple. What this does, the juice comes in here, it's fused, and then it gets put back out. It's a really strange part of the circuit. Let's open up the schematic, though, just so we can kind of look at what's going on here.
Where is this?
No, you're actually in just the right spot. So you see that bit in the center there that says general illumination lines. We've got, that's exactly what we're looking at right there. So we see that on the, I don't know if they can see the mouse, can they?
Yeah, I think so, right?
Well, I can explain it. We've got, if you look at under J5, that connector, that's the one we were just fondling. You can see pins 1, 2, 3, 4 go into that board. They go through fuses, 5 amp slow blows, and then they pop out the board. Super simple. We can look at a little bit of the rest of this PPB board too, just to kind of show what's going on. So if we look at that connector J4 there, that's our 48 VAC, 48 volts AC, alternating current. Comes in, one side of the AC is fused through F5. It goes through the magic of a bridge rectifier, which then is now a nice solid 50 volts DC. Can you scroll down a little bit on the schematic? And now scroll to the right just a bit. And you can see that 50 volts goes in here and also passes through a bit of that relay. K1 is that AC select relay. It's a little complicated, but it shows where all of these flashers are and what connections they make, where they meet up through the relay, what drivers drive them. If we scroll over to the right a little bit, and then scroll up a little bit, you can see,
oh no.
You scrolled up a lot a bit. It's okay.
Oh no.
You can see on the right-hand side here, the chat box is blocking a little bit of it, but It shows the CPU board and all of our solenoid drives. So all of the Qs are our transistors on the computer. And then those all output into the PPB board. So it's kind of like an in-between board. It's not necessarily an interconnect board like Williams used to be able to disconnect the playfield from the head quite easy, but yeah, at the top there, above where it says PPB, you've got, those are our TIP36 transistors. Those are the heavy drive transistors. So let's actually zoom in so we can see what those transistors drive. If we looked at the right-hand side of that, it would show us what the pre-drive was, right? Which transistor on the computer drives the heavy ones. But let's go up, and you can see, let's look at, keep going up. There we go. So these transistors drive some heavy load stuff. The super scoop, the bottom VUC, the one that kicks it out of the trough or the subway into the trough, the top VUC, VUK, vertical up kicker, the upper ball launch, the auto launcher, all of those are driven off of the those heavy-duty transistors there. So yeah, that's kind of how you read that. It's an interesting board. It seems a little unnecessary, but it's not at the same time. It doesn't do as much as the Williams auxiliary driver board, but yeah, anyways. Let's take it out of the game. We have, actually, let's show a cause and effect here really quick and why we're taking it out of the game. Give me just a moment. Can we put the, oh, there you go. You can move it. Actually, let's look and see. Hold on, got a cough. Okay, sorry about that.
I was trying to hide your cough with the schematic.
That's good. I had to cover my mouth so all y'all don't get COVID. Oh, everyone's still arguing about solenoid.
Solenoid. Oh, solenoid or solenoid?
Interesting.
Better call solenoid.
Well, we better call it like a South Carolina person calls it. Well, it's a coal. I need to get a coal for my pinball machine.
A coal. Oh, a coil?
Yeah.
A coal. Nice. I like it. It is pinball surgery.
Yeah, kind of, huh? Anyways, let's, the cause and effect here. The volume's probably going to be loud.
Baywatch will be.
Yeah.
I am 90% certain that the cause of this is not because of cracked solder, but let's take a look anyways. We have one side of the general illumination working on the insert. The other half is not working. When I come back here, I can see that what is the left side of the insert is driven by the green GI string. The right-hand side of the GI, the insert is driven by the brown string. Now, what happens here is...
Oh, thanks for the cheer, Graham Toker. Much appreciated.
Thanks for cheering us.
I saw that. I was late.
You see what happens when I give a little bit of a wiggle here?
Oh, yeah, the light's turning on and off.
So generally, when you've got a...
Wait, what are you wiggling?
I'm wiggling the connector on the PPB board, this guy right here. Now, one thing I can tell is someone had rebuilt this general illumination connector using a non-factory IDC connector, right? You can see all the factory ones are white. This one's yellow. It also looks like crap. Generally, when you get a wiggle in a connector and things start to work, that's an indication of cracked solder. So let's take it out and look. I also this thing kind of looks like junk, so I want to redo it in a proper crimp and stuff connector. But let's make sure that this thing is okay. Another benefit of removing the PPB board is we can also take a look at some of the fuse clips as well. Remember that the Data East games, especially of this vintage, used really crappy fuse clips that wear out quite quickly. Well, not wear out quickly, but over 30 years they have given up their duty of holding the fuses nice and snug. there's only one other board we need to look at. And actually, the only board on this game that we haven't verified that actually works is the flipper board. So hopefully, once we get this game back together a little more, we can open up and take a look at the flipper board. That was Data East pioneered the solid-state flipper. A flipper that, in theory,
Not me.
did not need an end-of-stroke switch. Very quickly, Data East realized that their flippers did need an end-of-stroke switch because they would collapse in a multi-ball when a ball would hit them. And also, Data East had a problem where if the end-of-stroke switches weren't actually closed, the flipper button wouldn't work at all, or the flippers wouldn't work at all. It was kind of a bad Band-Aid system, but it works very well. There's a very funny advertisement that came out, I think it was probably for an AMOA show in like 91 or whatever when RoboCop came out, but it's a great picture of Gary Stern sitting there with a flipper coil. It said something like, if, you know, it was like a quote, you know, I guarantee you that you won't burn a flipper coil out ever, or else I'll replace it for free or something like that. I actually, next time I see Gary, I want to ask him how many flipper coils he actually had to replace.
He'll probably say 0. Of course, 0.
I should get him to sign that. I should find.
I think I have that on your computer.
Okay. Well, it's definitely cracked solder. And
can we see?
Yeah. Let's go over to the bench. Hold on. I got a cough.
We want to see the crack. Oh, maybe I'll mute you.
Sorry about that.
Nothing happened.
Let me close this so we have a little better view here. Look at all these people chatting. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, they're so excited you're back. Michael says one of the elevators in my apartment building is being worked on.
Sounds exciting, I think.
Just placed my Pen Labor 22 order. Yay! Thanks for my Doctor Who machine. Awesome. Chris, I hope you have a fun time working on it. And we had everything you needed. All right. I'm zooming. I'm focusing. Yeah. Okay.
I don't even...
Oh.
It's really bad.
Cracked solder.
Now remember, cracked solder on these pins generally always happens on the... generally always. That makes a lot of sense. I'm getting my...
Wait, can you hold it up one more time?
I'm getting my jeweler's
I want to put it on this screen.
1 sec.
Let's look at that cracked solder. It's a good cracked solder example.
Generally always.
Yeah. Dude,
cracked solder happens on the end pins. So this is bad enough where you can see it with the naked eye. I don't need my jeweler's loupe to see this. Cool. And I have awful vision. But that's really bad. It always happens on the end pins. You can see it starting to happen on the other side too. And that's just due to the way that people rock connectors off. Can you
show us what non-cracked solder looks like for comparison?
Yeah, hold on.
Any good examples on that board? I would hope. Otherwise, that's going to be a lot of work.
Well, the funny thing actually is that a lot of them are cracked.
Oh, no.
Some better and worse than others. But, I mean, when you look at them, they will not have big, gigantic rings around the center of the pin.
Oh, yeah.
So that just happens. It's normal. It's wear and tear. But also, if you were to remove the connectors with a little more finesse and gently, this kind of stuff wouldn't happen so much. Also, I'm going to replace this header. It looks like crap. Actually, it kind of doesn't look like crap. I'm going to hit it with my fiberglass brush. We're going to change all of the general illumination lights in this game to LEDs anyways. LEDs use a fraction of the current draw than an incandescent bulb does. When you start having the material tarnish like this in a high current consumption environment, a non-shiny metallic surface has more resistance than a absolutely shiny, nice one. and combine that with the high current draw. Actually, no, the plating is coming off. We're going to replace it. It won't take very long. Let me show you what's going on. Basically, what I was trying to say, though, is when these things start to get tarnished, the current draw becomes too great, and it helps that snowball action of a burnt connector. You can see at the tips of some of these pins, you see how that the plating has come off of the actual pin itself, those bronze tips.
Oh, yeah. That's not good.
So we're going to remove that. We're going to replace this. That's not that big of a deal. The pins don't even really make contact there, but look, if I was doing this off camera, I might not do that. But let's be a good example. You want to replace things.
Casey with a K says pin repair 101, reflow all connectors.
Yes, it can be very useful. I need to go outside to get my connector box. One sec. I did not bring it in.
All right, who's excited for Pinball Expo? We will not be presenting there as Marco Specialties, but we always love supporting that show. I will be there doing some video coverage.
Man, I was actually going to come to Expo, and then I realized that basically I'd need to take the entire month of October off if I was going to go to Expo. So unfortunately...
Stern will definitely have a giant booth this year again. And Eddie, we will definitely hang out. It'll be awesome.
Maybe I should just take all of October off, shouldn't I?
Yeah, probably. You have a lot of PTO, right?
I don't know, probably. Working for almost 2 years without the ability to take a vacation because of a pandemic will kind of do that. So we're going to Disney World because my wife's dream was to go to Disney World. So we're going to do that in the beginning of October. And then in like the second week of October, my friend in Savannah with his record label is having a fest with a lot of the musicians on his label coming to play some shows, and I can't miss that. And then Expo's like literally the next weekend, so.
Yeah, it's so busy.
Let's do this the old school way, or not the old school way, but the kind of easier way to an extent. Since I don't have my desoldering iron, we're going to remove the pins using some flush cutters. So what we do, move that slam tilt switch that's here for some reason. We're going to heat the pin up, and when the pin is really hot, we're going to grab it with our flush cutters and extract it. You need to make sure it's really hot so you do not pull the fillet out. The fillet is the metallic connection that goes through the via in the circuit board. The vias are the holes in the circuit board. I'm going to have to do this standing it up. It's easier that way. It's not as good visuals, but...
Why can't your hands be see-through?
I don't know. This method is tried and true, because sometimes if you sit there and try to suck the solder out using like a vacuum pump, sometimes there'll still be a teeny bit of solder in the via, and you will rip the fillet out. So this way is actually a very safe way to do it if you just ensure that the solder is nice and hot. Don't force anything. If you feel too much resistance, stop and let it get hot again. I always heat the pins up before I put the pliers on because the pliers will act as a heat sink and make it take a lot longer to get everything hot enough to extract the pin. It's a very dirty soldering iron.
Dave Drake asked, "Who's the friend with a label?" Oh.
Ryan Graveface of Graveface Records in Savannah, Georgia.
We need to start playing their music on here. I haven't got around to picking some. If you want to pick some. Eddie says you need to bring him some records.
I will. Well,
Hello,
dude, when I come back to Chicago, we're going record shopping together. We'll go with Vinicor too.
Mike Vinicor's I was gonna be like, he's gonna be so jealous.
Last time I went to Chicago, I spent way too much money on records, but there's a lot of great shops. I want to go to that place that you were telling me, Eddie, Valhalla's.
It sounds awesome.
And I'd really like to go back to Oak Park Records. I really liked that shop. And then there was a Reckless Records that was like right next to a train station. I don't remember where it was, but I really liked that Reckless. That one was really good. Actually, friend of the show, Colin Baxter, is going to get me a record tomorrow that is only being sold at the Detroit, Michigan location of Third Man Records, Jack White's record label.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A gigantic splurge. One of my favorite bands, it's a stoner metal band called Sleep. And they're re-releasing my favorite of their albums, but they're doing it on a super special edition that is, it has cannabis leaves pressed inside of the vinyl. Since that kind of stuff is extremely illegal in Nashville, they can't sell it at the Nashville location, but they can in Detroit. So he's gonna get me one.
That's awesome.
I am a fan of Floor. Floor is a great band. There it goes. Okay, so we're going to replace this guy here. This is just great because we don't have these tarnished pins anymore. If we were running an IDC connector, or if we were running incandescent bulbs with this, it would just melt. It's really bad. So it's a good thing to just do it right, do it once. So now I'm going to solder this new header in. And then we will touch up some of that cracked solder on a lot of these other pins. Then we will get to repinning that crummy IDC connector. And that will probably be the episode because I'm tired.
I'm behind on the chat. Casey asked, "Are you a fan of Floor?"
Yes. Yeah, I answered that one. Yes, I am. Good band.
And then did you see Pinball Gramps? What's inside the sleeve?
Oh, nothing of that nature. It just has two records, or it's got two records with a really unique.
I thought these were pinball-related questions, y'all. What happened?
We're talking about music. It's almost related to pinball.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited to get that.
I want to like zoom in to your pyramids.
Here, I could bring the camera a little closer.
Get us closer. Closer. Let's see if I can focus.
Trying to get the tripod to adjust. Whew.
Oh, make the tripod smaller. Yeah,
it's as small as it can get now.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. This is great. Let me zoom back out because I went a bit overboard. Blue, blue, blue. Yeah, this is nice. Oh, so pretty. Look at those mountains, pyramids. What do you call them? Hills?
It's a little hill. A pyramid's nice. One of Sleep's other good albums is Holy Mountain. Let's just turn this into a metal live stream now. We'll get DMCA'd in like 5 seconds and it's fine. It does make me sad. I was thinking about that because like Twitch is like or like the DMCA music stuff is going really crazy on Twitch right now. And it was super funny that when I did the live stream with Jack a couple months ago, like it got taken down within like an hour of us finishing. Wow. So we were listening to way too much 2000s skater punk. It was hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is what we want to do. Just happy little pyramids. You don't want anything, you don't want big blobs or anything like that. That won't make a good connection. A happy little pyramid here. The surface tension is just enough to ensure that the pin is hot, the trace is hot, and the solder has adhered to that hot, shiny pin. So,
nice.
If we have too much solder, the pin may start cooling off before the rest of the solder melts, and that will increase our possibilities of having premature.
What's that white line, zigzaggy line on that trace right below where you were soldering?
It's just scratched.
Is that bad?
No, it's fine.
It doesn't hurt it?
No, that material is there just to cover up the actual
Can you tilt
trace.
Down? Sorry. I like to ask questions.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I'm going to go through here and just touch up like the ones that I can see that are really nasty.
Hershey Kisses. Yeah. I like that one. Look at those little Hershey Kisses. DJ Rowdy said, Bob Ross teaches soldering. I know.
Heck yeah.
It's kind of relaxing listening to you talk about pinball repair. I think we can all agree.
It's actually kind of relaxing now. I was stressed out before doing this, and now I'm actually relaxed. So I'm glad that I decided to do this.
Yeah.
But you should all be extra thankful because I feel like crap, and I'm doing it for you. No, I'm just kidding. Doing this for you.
All for us.
I'm just kidding. That's my dumb sense of humor. Trying to do here is just ensure that all the solder melts together, the old and the new. We're not really adding a lot of solder, we're just adding a teeny bit. When circuit boards are made in factories, they are through-hole through-hole circuit boards are manufactured using a process with, it's called wave soldering. So the boards are stuffed, and then they are put above a pool of molten solder, and waves are splashed through. And what that does is allows the solder to wick its way up into the boards, essentially, and it has a very uniform finish like this. And the one thing that Chris always told me that was important, right, and the way he would rate my soldering when he was teaching me the finer points of this over a decade ago was that if you can solder something and it looks like a machine had done it, or if you can solder something and it looks exactly like everything else around it, that's when you know you've done a good job. So I try to hold myself to that standard of, you know, trying to make my soldering look as much like as a machine did it as possible. Sometimes it's hard, but you should always strive for perfection when you can. So. If you can see, I'm just kind of going through here and doing the outer two pins on almost all of them. That will do exactly what we need to do. So, all right. There it goes. We now have a new header that is installed. I cut the keying pin out already. I have a new crimp and stuff connector here. And we are going to, I need to shorten it by 1 pin. And then we are going to go in and crimp in a new connector, turn the game on, see that all the GI works. We can all clap And then I'm going to go home.
Doing good.
So this is one thing that I do with my toolbox. I don't stock a billion different sizes of crimp and stuff connectors, and that's me being obnoxious because there's only like 10, 20 sizes anyways, but I just always buy like 20 or 24 pin connectors and then cut them down with flush cutters. That way it's much simpler to stock my box of pins and connectors, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's a lot
And then
easier
just cut
if
them
you
down.
just keep one. To me, you don't have to use as much space. I don't know. I'm going to pre-key it. This connector I'm using here, this portion of the header is called a locking ramp. And what that does is it allows the connector to kind of snap in under these prongs and kind of hold itself in place. They shouldn't back off ever, but these connectors I have do not have matching locking ramps, and that's fine. These will only fit in one-way clean. If I tried to fit it in with, let's see, the side that has the pinholes backwards, it won't really fit in the connector very nice. It only fits in one way. So even though it doesn't have a locking ramp of its own, they're compatible. I'm going to go and get a paper towel and wipe off some of this flux off the back of the board here really quick. And I will return.
Oh, he's still coughing.
I don't have my toothbrush that I
Hi,
normally...
Gamma Goat. Thanks for joining us. Gamma Goat asked, is it not necessary to clean any flux residue from the core? Oh, you just said it.
In this application, I don't know. If I was doing this on a bunch of like really small traces, I would absolutely remove all the flux. This one is kind of thick, and it's kind of not a big deal, but I'm still going to do it. In 99% of your applications, you want to get rid of your flux on the boards, though. It can be corrosive. So I've got this flux remover stuff that I just sprayed all over the board over a trash can. Now I will wipe it off. At my bench, if I had my own shop, I would have a dirty toothbrush next to my bottle of flux remover, and I would spray the fluxed up areas and then hit it with the toothbrush to wipe it all off. But if you spray it and let gravity do the job, it'll kind of carry it away for you. So, flux remover is expensive. Use it sparingly. Okay, sweet. Let's reattach this here. Oops. These boards do need service semi-often. There are instances where with those high-powered coils and solenoids, sorry, my brain not working. Some of the high-powered coils that this thing drives, they will destroy their drivers after a while. So you do have to take these things out. Tales from the Crypt, that game really likes to destroy the upkicker driver. It is a style. It's technically Molex is a name brand. So Molex makes all sorts of connectors. I like to use crimp and stuff as a distinction for the style of connector we're using, which is not evil IDC insulation displacement connectors. All right. Just a couple more screws here, and then we can repin that connector and then see if we have great success. I'm going to go through here and reattach all of the connectors we ripped off. Did anyone figure out my trivia question? Was Stern White Star the longest running board set by time, not necessarily amount of games made? Okay. Okay, so let's see. Let's keep using these Trifurcon. Oh, you know what? Shucks, that was stupid. I never actually tested any of these fuse clips. So let's just sample.
No. Just kidding. Reverse. Just rewind.
Let's just sample a couple. They didn't look bad. This might be an era that doesn't have them as bad. The ones that almost every single Star Wars, Tales from the Crypt, Jurassic Park, Phantom of the Opera, like that era has the crappiest of crappy fuse clips. Maybe by this era, they are a little better. Maybe these ones are just a couple years behind and they're going to start failing very soon. But those two check out just fine. So I'm going to say it's a non-issue. I'm going to get some cutties, some strippies, and some crimpers. Bring a little bag of these Trifurcon pins. So we've talked about these before. I generally won't use these unless it's like a general illumination connector. They're kind of a pain in the butt. They don't fit into the housings just perfect, but these, I mean they do, but they're marginally more of a pain in the butt, and that's enough inconvenience for me to be grumpy about them. But these things, the Trifurcon connectors, they've got, they touch those pins on 3 sides instead of 1. So we are going to use these. These are great for spreading out that high current draw. Even though we are going to be replacing all of the general illumination lamps with some super high quality Comet warm white LEDs, it's still, I just prefer it. Just do it that way. It'll help teach you guys, because if you don't change these to LEDs, it's another way to extend the life a little bit. A lot of times with IDC connectors, when I repin a connector, I like to do 1 wire to 1 wire. That will help you not make mistakes. These wires are a little harder to discern, and I also like to salvage as much of the harness length as I can. But sometimes, to really also make sure you're not screwing up, I mean, you can cut them like a few millimeters off of the connector, so you can see, witness marks or what color wire went into what position. Most good manuals will tell you what wires go into what colors go into what position on the plug. Whoever did this also didn't do it just right. You see the discoloration on the end of that wire there? Is that visible?
Yes.
You see how it's not as white as the wire on my finger? That's because the old wire had burnt up. And whoever did this did not cut the wires back far enough. What you'll end up finding is inside these sections of wire, whoops, let me make this longer. The wires are no longer shiny anymore. They are very much so tarnished like the pins would be. And those don't conduct well and build resistance. So again, it's one of those things that just stems out of control. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the snowball effect, that's kind of what the words I was looking for. I am going to have to cut these a little bit shorter then, because I want to get rid of that. I want to expose shiny wire. So I just cut off 2 or 3 millimeters. Let's strip a little bit and see if it's shiny. Yeah, that looks good. I stripped it a little long. All right. Might need to move the camera. I have made videos on crimping tutorials. I think we could probably do it again one day with better camera, lighting, etc.
Oh yeah, we should.
But if you have any questions, just ask. But I'm not going to explain everything I'm doing here just for the sake of time. The 2 important tips I can give you, though, for doing these crimp and stuff connectors is it's really important to only expose just enough wire. You don't want to have too much wire poking out through the pin. You want to make sure that it fits in just right on the wire portion of the flap. On the pins here, you've got this section is for the wire. Oops. So you've got 2 crimps, right? The front section is for the wire. The back section is just for the insulation. So you want to make sure that they don't protrude too far because they can get in the way of your the spring action of the pin itself, if that makes sense. But yeah, I have a feeling.
Colin wants to know if you used the fancy crimpers you got in the mail.
I did, and you know what? They're actually at my house because I was using those fancy crimpers on one of my games at home.
How dare you not use them on the show?
I will use them on the show next time. The fancy crimpers, Colin sent me some ratcheting crimpers, which are really awesome. They crimp both crimps at the same time, and they will also hold the pin. So instead of having to do the funny balancing act that I'm having to do by holding the pin and balancing it, stuffing the wire in and crimping it down, you can set the pin in there just right, strip the wire, insert the stripped end of the wire, and just pull the handle, and it will give you a perfect crimp every time. With these super manual crimpers, you have to crimp both ends of the insulation and the wire side. Also, pro tip, if you're working in the head of your game, this is something Chris always pushed into my head, and I never understood why. I always thought it was just obnoxious, but it's a great tip. If you're working in the head of the game, just always have the glass on. It's so easy to drop things inside the game where you won't find them again, or drop something in and break or damage something under the glass. The glass also is an extremely convenient table for you to rest your tools and other things. So. Just ripping these suckers out. I don't even need my flush cutters because a good pair of wire strippers have a cutting edge as well. So I cut off one bit, I strip off another bit, grab myself a pin, and crimp it on. That one's much too long, so I'm going to shorten this just a teeny bit. This is one of the best skills to have as someone who works on pinball games. This is extremely important on any era of pinball game you will own, except for electromechanical games for the most part. But if you have any electronic pinball games, this is a must know how to do skill. It's quite easy to learn. Not very difficult to master. It just takes a lot of practice to get it just right. Do you have the tools to do this, Emoto?
Not yet.
Oh man.
I'm waiting for the Kyle's Tools category on our website, so then I'll just click buy all.
We should work on that together.
I know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, you know, if you have a bad circuit board and you think that the circuit board's the problem and you replace the board and the same problem exists and, well, the board must be bad. Oh, no, there could be a couple other things going on, and this could definitely be one of them. This is very outdated. This like package size for a connector is not super common anymore because it is kind of a large form factor, and you know, over the last however many years, electronics have just been getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So some of these connectors are no longer, you know, they're not seen as often or as prevalent as they used to be. That being said, one of the great things about you know, some of the engineering going on at Stern Pinball is that, you know, from this game, which is, I mean, technically it's a legacy Stern game, right? All the way until Godzilla, I can use the same tools to rebuild a lot of the connectors as I would use on this game, right? So it is really awesome to have like legacy connectors like that.
Oh, first time chatter, pocket hole shot.
Hello.
Said my crimps, first off, welcome to the show. Thanks for chatting with us. They said my crimps always turn sideways on me. Is it my tool or technique?
Possibly both. New crimpers are really tight. I've had this pair of crimpers for like 8 to 9 years, and they kind of wear in a little bit. But that being said, what I would recommend, and we will demonstrate this now, is pre-compressing the crimp pin a teeny bit. What that will allow is it to kind of center itself. And I'll show you, we'll kind of look at the physics, if you will, of what's going on. That's actually a great question. So very many thank yous for bringing that up. I think I went over that a little bit in the more concise video I did, but like first off, like this is the pattern, right, of your crimping tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's see how it's a little bulbous, and then it gets skinny, and then it's kind of got those forks at the top. Those forks at this being the top. So those forks at the top will take these and bend them over, but what happens is that when you put your crimp into the pin sometimes, I mean, look how it doesn't want to, well, that's kind of the wrong size. This one is for this size. But when you put it in, sometimes they want to bend, sometimes they want to wiggle. But what you can do, and what I recommend doing, this is hard. Doing this, this is not hard. This is actually very easy. It does take some finesse. This is something that requires 3 hands. Right? But what you can do is try to hold the pin centered while you're crimping. You do have to hold this and hold the wire and hold the pliers all at the same time. So your mileage may vary. That is also why those
snaky clips,
those the automatic crimpers are great, because they kind of do that for you. If you wanted to simulate those crimpers, if they were really starting to turn on you, try to put them in the plier first and get it centered so it sits nice, you know, exactly how you need it, and then try to insert the wire through the back. If you haven't frayed the strands of wire too badly, you can kind of stick it on in and then crimp it like that. That worked perfectly. It just takes practice. Next time you need to order crimps, order 10 times as many as you need. Go get some spare wire and just sit there and crimp it and then cut, and then crimp it and then cut it, and then crimp it and then cut it. Do it over and over again until it becomes so second nature you can sit and talk while doing it.
Said thanks for the advice. I'm gonna scroll up real quick. Gamma Goat had a question too.
Yeah.
said none of those wires on the IDC seem to be passed through, but how do you approach that when switching to Trifurcon?
It's difficult. We've done it on this show. I think the one instance I remember doing it on was Bride of Pinball. Really quick, before I finish answering that, like this is my technique, right? I line it up exactly how I need to, with like a 90th percentile of accuracy. I then get the pliers down exactly where it needs to be, make sure it's straight. I just tried to pin it a little sideways, make sure it's straight, compress those pins so it sits straight, ensure that the insulation is ending at the crimper, crimp, and now the bigger side of the pin is only going to crimp on the insulation. Make sure it sits in there straight, then crimp. These are not designed to be used with any sort of a pass-through application. When you need to use a pass-through application, you basically have to make a Molex engineer like roll over in their grave and do it incorrectly. It is difficult. The difference here is this is a pass-through connector. There's a ground connection. The ground connection comes from one end. It passes through this IDC connector, right? Because it just punches in, so one side of the wire, the other side of the wire, and now this ground goes off somewhere else. If you needed to put them in a crimp and stuff connector, you need to crimp both of those wires into one of those teeny pins. It is possible. It does take a bit of patience. My technique generally is stripping one a lot longer, so that way you can put one wire here, one wire here. They sit like this and then crimp them together. Unfortunately then the other end, if you had the insulation trying to butt into that bigger crimp, both insulation sides wouldn't fit. So if you have a long piece of wire spanning both bits, you can crimp down onto that and just cross your fingers and hope for the best that you didn't shear the wire. It does happen very often. I do remember doing this on camera, I believe, when I was working on a Bride of Pinball, possibly Indy 500. But I do remember doing it on this show one time. I don't know if it was like an actual episode, but I'm hoping, Emoto, next time you come visit, that we can just sit there and shoot that like as an actual like good video, you know?
I added it to our project.
We've been wanting to do that for such a long time.
That's a good one, for sure.
Look at all y'all talking. Thanks for being in here. Yeah, I don't know what tool. I have to look at my tool. I don't think it's marked, but I think we actually sell that tool now. It's a higher quality one. I think it's from a company called Waldom or something like that. That's my favorite manual crimping tool.
Yeah, I dropped it in the chat too.
There's a lot of them that look like that, but like someone said it, like cheaper ones, yeah, Digerati Ohm says cheaper ones tend to crimp at an angle, so having a good one is the way to do it. Definitely worth it. And the difference between a cheap one is like $10 and a good one, so just get a good one.
Baywatch will be.
Oh, yeah, and if y'all are stocking up on tools, don't forget to use the PinLabor22 code. That's actually active until Sunday. And then we have 8 tools that are 10% off. It's nothing crazy, but still cool. So check those out as well. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Let's see. We have Pentisserie, a spring assortment kit, the telescopic magnet tool, which everyone should have, our tool belt and pouch, the bulb Yankee, the battery remote mount, which is the solderless thing, which I want to show at some point too, Kyle, because I think that's cool for like noobs like me.
Yeah, they're neat.
And
it's
then
a
the
really
double-ended
old-school
spring
thing.
tool thing you guys just found, and the socket wrench set. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think one of the capacitors on this dot matrix is going bad. If I turn it on, I bet it's going to spark again. I was hoping that problem would alleviate itself when it's been like turned on and off a bunch of times, but I don't know if it will, but we'll see. Anyways, actually, let's have a teeny, actually let me turn it on with this thing down and see if it sparks. There's a snap coming from somewhere, and I think it's just on from the step-up transformer.
Baywatch will
Yes.
be.
It snapped again, but it wasn't as loud as the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, something's bad. It just let out a bunch of magic smoke. Oh, no. Probably because there's a dried out bad capacitor. Oh, well, that's a bummer. I guess we'll have to come up with an alternative, if you know what I mean. I'm going to keep that unplugged for now. I don't think, hopefully no one will ever come in here and turn it off, but at least now it wouldn't be a fire hazard. So unfortunately, the DMD might be sad. But you know what's not sad?
Patrick, thank you. Kyle and I are the dream team. My dream team.
Look at all that light.
Daniel.
Da, 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 da. It works.
Yay! Now what? Sleep?
Now I'm going home. So
Kyle, you're so awesome for working on this show when you are completely sick and out of breath and coughing, and you need to drink lots of water.
thank you, I will. Yeah, technically I am still COVID
get
positive,
better.
so
So we can start the Kyle's Tools category on the website. Doesn't
Let me go
everyone
wash
want that?
my
What do
hands,
y'all
one
think
sec.
about that in the chat? If there was a category in the drop-down menu that maybe it wouldn't be called exactly Kyle's Tools. It needs a better name. So if you have a good name for that category, drop that in the chat. It might end up on the website. Yay, you're getting clapping from Kiwi Frenzy. Nintendo Raimi commented on your haircut. Yeah, you got a haircut last week. I said the same thing too. I was like, it was last week.
yeah.
Nintendo Raimi, I was sort of in the chat last week. Digerati said the same thing too. He was chatting and then realized later as a recap. But the actual chat that y'all are in is live, so anyone responding to that would have been in real time. And then on the screen, it wasn't showing y'all's chat. It was showing the old chat from literally 2020 because it was a roller games episode,
Oh,
which
really?
was
Oh,
the
yeah,
first
yeah.
game we started on, and it was so endearing to watch it. We had Mark in there.
Oh.
It took us so long, several episodes, to realize that MGM Studios, with all of his like funny comments and quirks, was actually our boss, Mark Mandeltort. Which it was like his initials, and it was like, duh. But he was so funny, and we'd always laugh at this guy's comments, and then it was like, oh, it was Mark the whole time.
Yeah.
But he had some funny comments in that one too.
That was great. Yeah. If I could stand to
Oh, did you?
listen to my own voice, I would probably watch some of those old episodes. But it was that's cool. Yeah, and that was a good episode
Tools from
too.
Kyle's Kitchen. All right, we could do that. Tools from Kyle's Kitchen. You think that'll get approved? I don't know.
I have some cool kitchen tools. You know what I used a couple weeks ago was my immersion blender.
Your what?
My immersion blender.
Oh, what did you blend?
I made a curried lentil soup that was really good. And part of it was to just like thicken it up by blending a portion of it. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to take out my blender. I'll just use my immersion blender. And it was great. So
Nice.
kitchen tools, yeah, man, I'm all into that. I used to
No,
do...
we were talking about what to name your tool category on the website. We're not talking about kitchen tools.
Oh, well, that's actually kind of more interesting. I love cooking. I like cooking more than I like
know.
pinball.
He got so excited for that. I was like, uh-oh.
Aw.
Nintendo Raimi asked real quick, Flash Gordon 810 for 3500 or mousing around 9.5 out of 10 for 36. Mousing around.
I guess if I had to
biased.
choose, I'd say mousing around, but that's too rich for
I
my
love
blood.
that game.
Jeez. Patrick Marino, I found with all Stearns and JJP, sling rubbers are too soft and the ball gets stuck under the slings. Super bands are the perfect fix. Nice.
Oh, I'm glad you like the super bands.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's interesting.
And
yeah,
they're pretty. And they're stay clean and
Does-
easy to clean.
is Stern using or in Jersey Jack, are they using a 2-inch rubber on the slingshot or a 2.5? It was like, I think I remember, I mean, on some Williams games, I would like back in the day when I was doing location stuff, I would take like a 2-inch rubber and stretch it really well and then install it. So it was about 1/2 inch too short, but the balls wouldn't get stuck behind the rubbers as often. That's a real common thing. But yeah, interesting. Super bands, that's a good quip. We'll definitely be installing some super bands on this game. I'm excited to do that.
Yay.
Yeah. Man, I'm disappointed. We should do a cooking stream. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Cooking with pinballs?
You can help me make, what did those things you made when you came over to my house last summer with the mushrooms stuffed with
Oh, yeah.
was it
like
goat
Gouda,
cheese?
goat cheese, smoked Gouda,
That was so good. Oh gosh,
and
I'm so
some
hungry
meat.
now. I haven't eaten anything in like over 24 hours, so I gotta
Yeah,
go get
you need
some
to do
eat.
that too. All right, homegrown, B-dub, TSPP upper flippers are weak. Should I replace the coils? No, they work, just not strong compared to other TSPP I played before. Advice.
Yeah, don't replace the coils. Always replace the coil last. Coils, like the easy way to explain it is coils work until they don't. That isn't 100% true, but that's something you should just keep in your mind while you're troubleshooting. If the coil's doing something, it's working. What is most likely the problem? Well, the first thing I would look at, again, you know, the upper flipper. Wait, which upper flipper? Are we talking about the upper?
And this is for the Simpsons pinball party, right?
The upper flippers. So like what? So there's like 6 flippers on that game, right? So which or 5? I don't remember. Which one? The one on the main playfield or the one on the upper playfield? On the top left. The reason I ask is a lot of the times people will, like especially old operators or something, or old, lazier pinball fix people would only fix the most pressing problems. So you'll have the lower flippers rebuilt a lot more often than you'd go do the upper ones. What I would challenge you to do is to get access to that flipper, the one on the upper playfield. It's also extremely easy to get to the upper playfield on Simpsons Pinball Party. I think it's like 3 set
The
screws.
mini playfield?
It's 3 set screws and the thing lifts up. What I challenge you to do is just look at the linkages. What is likely is going on is the linkages of worn. And that one is a bit difficult to get to, and that's an old game now. So it's probably the original one. What you're going to be looking for is slop. You've got your plunger, and you've got a pin that goes through the plunger that attaches it to a plastic link. And then that link has a screw that attaches it to what you call the pawl. And both of those holes in those links will start to oval out as the force is exerted on the actual flipper crank. Anyway, sorry, COVID brain. Look at the linkages, see how much slop you have there. When you hold the plunger and wiggle the top of the flipper pawl, it should not move at all or move very little. And what you'll probably find is that it is loose. So, sorry, I'm using way too many words to describe things simply. But yeah.
So if it's loose, then what do you do?
Replace the flipper and link, the plunger and link.
Just replace it.
Yeah, replace the plunger and link, and that'll get you going. Or if you're doing it on an extraordinary budget, you can just replace the link. It takes a long time, and you need roll pin punches, but I would just replace the entire assembly.
Which flipper rebuild kit is it?
You wouldn't be able to use a flipper rebuild kit because that game has too many flippers. But if you just look at a modern Stern flipper Link and Paul 515-7203, 515-7203-00, I think is the part number.
The right assembly one? For the right, it says flipper, plunger, link and crane, assembly, right.
Yeah.
Or is it left?
Well, I don't know. It
right.
depends on which way the flipper is actuated in that game. I don't remember. I think it's.
I'll just
I think it's a right.
in.
I think it's a right. I just replaced all flippers. Link is the sleeve. So you replaced that one already? If you have replaced everything and it is still weak, I still would not assume the coil yet. Did you change the coil sleeve? Is everything sitting in there straight and flush? If all of that stuff is straight and flush and good to go, I would also check the plugs that allow you to disconnect the mini playfield from the main playfield harness and stuff like that. The flipper coils are generally pretty resilient in those games. Just the flipper bat. Oh, okay, yeah, then you've probably got linkage problems. Yep, go take a look. You'll be, I would put a beer on the line that you have some loose linkages because no one's replaced that thing in 20 years.
Nice, good luck. Yeah, check it out and then let us know your results.
Yes, please
next
do.
week or something.
Yeah, Digirati, there's no end of stroke switches on those flippers that would control the actual power of the flipper. Those end of stroke switches on that era of game are just there to tell the computer that the switch has, or the flipper has reached the end of stroke. It doesn't control the power at all. So. Yeah, well that's cool. Does anyone else have anything to talk about, or is it time to go?
It's time to go.
Game was on location and heavily played. Yeah, I mean, that was a very, very popular game more recently than when it was new, but those games stayed on location for a long time. That's a great game. Patrick Marino says that the coils on his, what is that acronym? Oh, the Addams family. Oh, he's got a gold one. Oh, cool.
The Addams family gold. Oh, yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah, look again. They don't go bad if they don't. Yeah, if there's no like underlying problems, they don't go bad. You know, they're a very simple device. Coils go bad because they get stuck on, or the end of stroke switches won't actuate on those older games. So, if they've never met any sort of crazy failure condition like that, they wouldn't go bad. That's actually kind of funny too. Like, I know it's kind of like it kind of is sad because people will just replace things without doing a lot of checking, and that's fine, but like it is neat. Like a lot of my old Bally games behind me and a lot of them at home, they do have the original coils in them from over 40 years ago, you know? Like my Mars Trek, an old 70s Spanish-made electromechanical game, has all of the original coils from the 70s. My Twilight Zone has all the original coils in it, you know? As long as someone took care of it and didn't let anything fail too hard, they'll essentially last forever.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh,
sure.
Man.
Oh, both of them. Dang. I want to load.
Yeah, flipper buzz is normal, but there's no problem with buzzing flippers. But what that generally means, and a good way to solve that, is to make sure you replace your flipper plunger and coil stop at the same time. Look, and I mean, there's like there are intricacies to that where, you know, maybe you bought a brand new Stern game and after a couple months, one of the coil stops failed because it had a bad batch in there or something. You know, after a couple thousand flips, you don't need to change the coil stop and plunger together. But on those older games that have had hundreds of thousands of flips, the plunger and coil stop kind of mate together, and when they aren't mating in that perfect way, they will start to buzz. Another way to also try to eliminate a little bit of that buzz is to put a wave washer in between the coil stop and the coil to really secure the coil and put tension against it so it doesn't have any room to buzz like that. So it's just normal. That's part. Also, the other thing is that's just part of the. If it's not a physical buzz because of the plunger and the coil stop buzzing together, it's also just the way that those coils are run. The coils are especially on stern games, the power to the coil is pulsed many times a second, like hundreds of times a second, for example. So having them energize on and off like that creates vibration and strange magnetic fields. I don't know. I can't explain it, but that is why it happens. So, pinball trivia. I'm thinking of something. I'll get to you. What desoldering gun would you recommend? The Hacko 301 is very reasonably priced, and they perform wonderfully. So, I really like those. If you're working on a circuit board, get a powered desoldering iron. If you're not working on circuit boards, it's kind of overkill. You don't really need them, but especially if you're working on fine traces on soldering or circuit boards, you really need to get one of those. It's a great tool with a great investment for you in your shop. Man, pinball trivia. I feel like I've gone through all my good ones and like. Okay, this is a good one. What was the first pinball game to use a vacuum-formed ramp? A vacuum-formed ramp being a plastic ramp.
I feel like we just talked about this the other day.
Probably. Have you played Bally Star Trek? Yes, I have owned many. How would you rate the gameplay? It's just a Bally game from the late 70s. They're all the exact same game. There's a few of them that are a little more interesting, but it's okay.
Space Shuttle?
Ban roller pinball. He's out of here. What drill bits do you recommend? The best ones. David, you win. You win. Space Shuttle is correct.
Oh, nice. Look, that's awesome.
Xenon. Good. Xenon does use a plastic part of a ramp, but it is not a vacuum-formed ramp. Vacuum-formed ramp on Space Shuttle was a very inexpensive way to create multi-level action in pinball. The vacuum forming process is pretty simple, but really interesting. You'll have a piece of plastic that will be baked in an oven with a mold underneath it. And you'll apply vacuum, so that piece of plastic is then sucked against that mold, which then creates the shape of the ramp, which creates a very simple way to build height in pinball, I guess. There's a bunch. I mean, a trivia question, if I actually knew the answer 100%, is name all of the pinball games that use acrylic tubes as part of a ramp shot. There's.
Oh wow.
I can think of at least 5.
How about name all the games that have pool as a theme?
Yeah, God. Actually, I can name 4, but I think there's 5. But we'll talk about that one later. Where's the Marco magnetic beer opener for
Marino.
your coin door?
I know. Okay, so check this out. I'm going to promote for Stern real quick because I will admit I never followed through and ordered that. But it's okay because while you wait for our version, I literally just saw Stern put on their Stern shop that exact thing. And I was like, oh, man, now I just have to hit them up and ask what their vendor is. I'm just kidding. But, yeah, they had a flat bottle opener. I'm trying to find it.
That's cool.
I can't find it on their Stern shop. But I think it's magnetic and can fit on the coin door. Just like you said.
What pinball machine had the first 1 million point shot?
Oh, no.
Was it Pinbot? Was Pinbot the first game with 1 million point shot?
Sorry, Patrick. It's coming next year. I promise we're going to have our version in 2023, and it's going to be awesome. And it's all going to be because of your inspiration and due diligence.
Actually,
because that one does it.
Yeah, Comet. That makes sense.
nice.
But you know what? I bet you that you can break that rule, because I bet you there is a wood rail game that has a 1,000,000-point shot. But I wouldn't know, so we'd have to call a historian to figure that out for us. But that's good. Good job, Bruce.
Donicus, first time chatter, thanks for joining us. Said we put in an order today, couldn't find a specific ramp part for a jersey and a toy replacement for a stern turtles. How best to do that with you cool peeps?
Well, with the Stern parts, we would need to request those from Stern. We'd need to purchase them and then put them on our website. So if there is a specific cosmetic part you need for a Stern game, email the customer service folks, and we can try to facilitate that. For a Jersey Jack part, Jersey Jack does sell parts directly. So you can try reaching out to Jersey Jack's customer support with those part numbers, and hopefully they can hook you up with that as well.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, sales@marcopinball.com. Beer. I probably won't be drinking any beer. I have been drinking.
Yeah, he's sick. He needs to get well.
I think the wine helped kill some of my COVID, so maybe I'll drink a little bit more wine with a heaping dose of water, but we'll see.
Did you get your trivia done? NBA Fast Break has a 1,000,000-point shot.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, Comet was the first modern game, I guess, with a 1,000,000-point shot. Shoot up that ramp over and over and over until you get that 1,000,000 points.
Yeah, you need some mead.
I'd love some mead. That's great.
All right, Kyle. Well, you need to rest. So I'm going to look, you almost made a full show. So an hour and a half is pretty dang good.
Yeah.
And we all appreciate you. But we're going to go ahead and raid. For those in Twitch, stick around so Kyle can go home and rest, and then he can come back to work at full Kyle potential.
I don't know what full Kyle potential is. That's probably bad. It's
No,
raining
awesome.
really hard outside, so that's going to be fun. Thank you, everybody.
You have to think of a category for the Kyle's Tools category. As seen on PinTech Live. Then we could use the as seen on TV thing. Mark would have totally loved that. Mark would be all about that.
Mark would love that. We should definitely work that up.
Okay. All right, y'all. We will see you next week. Thank you so much. And don't forget the Pin Labor Day sale is going on until Sunday. Head to our website and check it out.
Oh, wait. Is next week the 100th episode, technically now? Numerically?
Next week might technically be the 100th episode. We may be doing a nice special with Insider Connected updates with George Gomez and potentially Taylor Bancroft. That's in the works. That's going to either happen next week or the week after. So I don't know if we name that 100th episode or that just is its own thing. We've been kind of cataloging those as its own thing, and then we can come back and do 100th, because we were talking about doing like a all trivia day and give away prizes and stuff like that.
I'd love to do the 100th episode with George and Taylor and you, though. That would be a great time. 3 people I'd love to
Yeah, you want to
sit
name
and talk.
that the 100th episode then?
I don't know.
If
We'll
it's
figure
next
it
week?
out. Hey,
Yeah.
here's some homework for all of y'all that care. Take really obscure close-up pictures of your pinball games, of like playfield bits, like artwork, and then send them to emoto@marcopinball.com. And then we can use them as trivia when we do a trivia stream or something.
Yeah, that's right. It's got to be all the close-up ones. Okay.
That was
I have
fun
a
when
bunch,
Emoto
too.
did that
Yeah,
with
please
us.
do. It's which pin is it?
Which pin is it? Anyways, thanks, y'all.
Kyle's
I'm going to
tool
go.
category is the bent screwdriver.
It is,
Exactly.
it is.
Yeah,
love
I
my-
know that. We need to sell those. Little MarcoPinball.com,
I have a
obviously.
Bally Williams bent screwdriver. It's extra cool, extra vintage. Oh, man. I should eat something. What should I eat, too? My wife doesn't have COVID.
Yogurt.
She's not positive, so she could go
Oh,
get me some
good.
food. I mean, sorry. She can go get us food. I demand snacks.
Good
I'm
save.
starving though.
Good save.
I'd love some
Alright.
pierogi.
Let's turn on some music. I love pierogies.
I don't think Eddie's here
Who said
anymore. But
who said pierogies? Cause that sounds awesome.
no, me. I love.
I would love some pierogies too.
Colin, I was sweating so hard. Like I felt like I was literally dying after I moved those couple games today. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. I think I've done
eat
enough
a bunch
sweating.
of wasabi and clean your sinuses out.
I wouldn't mind that. Eska was actually talking about wanting sushi really bad. That would actually
Sushi
probably
would be
great.
good because it's light
Yeah.
on your stomach. Don't need anything heavy.
Thanks for the well wishes, everybody. It's appreciated.
All right, Kyle. Good luck out there. See you later.
Who are we rating?
We're gonna rate Dalton
Dalton.
because Dalton's online,
I'm Dalton's. I'm the president of the Dalton fan club.
which is why we're rating him.
I love Dalton.
So,
Is he playing
let's
Rush?
say hi to Dalton. Throw a bunch of Kyle faces in there too. If you guys have the emotes unlocked.
Yeah, he loves that. He's the one who invented all the weird Kyle face things.
All right, bye everybody. Is it rating yet? Is it rating yet?